Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And at Tony Walker Financial, after recording more than 500 episodes of what we like to call the Walter Cronkite style of television, we're going to continue that format, but we're also going to introduce a brand new format where, as we record the radio show, we're going to turn it into more of a podcast kind of / a Dan Patrick kind of look, where we can also use this studio for particular shows and drop in guests from not only the outside world who might be clients of Tony Walker Financial, but also try to feature more of our staff here at Tony Walker Financial, who, as we currently record this show in April of 2024, we have, besides myself, 19 full-time staff, and they deserve credit for much of the success of what's going on here at Tony Walker Financial. Now, speaking of success, it would be remiss if I didn't mention how many 401k savings plans that we work with. Now, we don't actually deal with the 401k savings plans while you're working. What we do and specialize in is when savers decide to retire, or when they reach the age of 59 and a half, or when they terminate employment and have that old 401k still sitting at a former employer. What we do at Tony Walker Financial is use our expertise to step in and do something called 401k rollovers. Now, the point of today's show is to remind you, saver, if you do have a 401k, maybe you got a TSP, 403B, thrift savings plan, 457 IRA, all these things that are what we call pre-tax or tax infested. Well, you're going to learn that that's just a savings plan. That is really not what we call a retirement spending plan. So really good stuff coming your way. And actually, to kick off this show on 401k rollovers made easy, in the studios with me, I'm going to slide my mic over, is my favorite son-in-law and fellow fiduciary, Trey Juergens. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, and as always, thanks for being here kind of on late notice. I know we're trying to work through this new format. And as you kind of understand, you're part of the Worry-Free production team kind of in the background, but what do you see as the advantages of us kind of coming up with this new format and including a lot more staff in terms of our viewers and listeners who might tune in?
Yeah, our staff is, that's exactly what we always hear the feedback from our clients is the staff's great, communication's great. Why not feature them on the show? So you, of course, have done a fantastic job, 500 plus episodes with Aaron and Derek getting these things cranked out, but if we can feature more of our staff, more of the service issues that we run into in helping people roll these 401ks over, it's just going to share that with so many savers to help them feel a little bit more comfortable about maybe reaching out to us.
And don't you think that's part of the problem? And again, folks, we're not blasting the 401k. The 401k, as I've always said, is a great savings tool. The difficulty is it's a lousy planning tool. And again, kudos to these huge organizations that are out there administering these 401k plans. They do a great job of it. But that's kind of the problem. You take Joe Lunchbox, who's worked 30 or 40 years, saving all this money away, and maybe they're investing it in the market or whatever. Then all of a sudden they start approaching retirement. They reach out to us because I think if they've watched this show or listened to the radio show or podcast, they realize, I don't really have a plan. So you meet a lot of the people that come in to meet with me, and then we're going to talk to some of our other staff here about this thing called a rollover. But what is it you see after I've talked to them initially, we've shared our assessment, and then a lot of times I bring them down the hall to you when they say, no, I want to start moving that 401k over. Why do you think they make that decision to turn it over, their life savings basically, to someone like Tony Walker Financial?
Well, we provide them a written game plan. As you said, the 401k savings plan is exactly that. You're saving away this pre-tax money while you're working, but when it comes time to turning around to from putting money into that 401k and then taking money out of that to live on, supplement Social Security, all these big question marks that savers have no idea how to answer. We provide them a plan to show them how to do that. And that's the the wow moment, as the one client recently said. One of the big things, too, is we've had a client, one of the best stories is, like you said, these huge custodians do a great job managing 401ks, contributions from employers, all that stuff that we don't touch. But when it comes time to deciding how to use that money in retirement, one of the custodians says, we're one of the biggest companies in the world. Why would you ever leave? And he said, that's exactly why. I'm a number. I'm calling an 800 number that I talk to somebody different every single time that I call, whereas they get to come in, meet with you directly, come down the hall, talk to me, go over this plan, and decide to commit to work with us.
Yeah, and if you're listening to the show or watching the show and you're down in the Bowling Green, Kentucky area or Lexington, Kentucky area, we also have fellow fiduciaries there. Of course, Heather Hughes, who's been with me now over 18 years. I'll tell you a funny story about Heather. I had a gentleman that I went to church with who became a client. I'll call him Hank. Hank, just a nice guy. And he met with me several times. Oh, just very impressed with the entire organization. And he said, hey, Tony, I got to drop by there next week. I've got something urgent to discuss with you. And I told him, I said, Hank, I got to be out of town. And he's like, oh, well, and you could tell he's disappointed. And he said, well, I got to know something. I said, Hank, you've met Heather, haven't you? And he goes, yeah, I've met Heather. And he goes, I said, why don't you just meet with Heather? And he said, okay, fine. He seemed a little exacerbated over the whole thing. I got back. I see him in church the next week. I came up to Hank. I said, hey, Hank, how did it go with Heather? And he goes, Tony, don't take this personally, but actually, she explains things better than you. So I'm just real proud of the staff, real proud of this format we're going through. I know Aaron and Derek are having to make a lot of adjustments, so you guys hang in there. You're doing a great job. But what I thought we would do is we're going to come back. We're going to not only talk about the 401k rollover process, I'd also like to introduce one of our new staff members who's specializing in the rollover, and then also a new staff member that provides what we call onboarding services. So, folks, we'll be right back. If you've got a 401k or other retirement assets out there, you're going to want to stay tuned for this next segment.
Our employee spotlight shines brightly on Miss Shannon Ross. First of all, thanks for joining us, Shannon.
My pleasure.
And tell us when you started with Tony Walker Financial.
I've worked for you since the new year of 2017.
And your exact duties here.
My role was to build out the investments, non-annuity side of our firm, which we do through Charles Schwab exclusively because you worked with them in the 90s and they're leaders in their field. And so for the first 7 years, I structured our investments department and more recently have moved into more of a consultant position for the investments department and manage the trade.
You're doing an excellent job, by the way. Thank you so much. And what do you enjoy most about your work here at Tony Walker Financial?
I really enjoy the collaborative efforts that go on between our team. We've got a great dynamic group of people that work really hard and always strive to be the best at what we do. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to bring people a game plan for retirement. And it puts us in a unique position to really help people worry less about money.
Well, thank you for all you do. And, of course, for helping get the Schwab platform launched back in 2017 and taking over the trading department. We really appreciate your work.
Yes, sir.
You know, one of the worst debacles, I guess, communication-wise, trade came out around 1978 when the government, along with really, I think, corporate America and Wall Street, I'm not sure if they literally got in a dark room with smoke billowing in the background, but it makes you wonder sometimes. Those three folks got together and basically got rid of something. It eventually faded away. It got rid of the pension plan, the guaranteed income. You know, I talk about my granddad. Ironically, he retired from Bell South that same year in 1978, and he enjoyed that pension forever, he and Hazel, until he died. And since that time, what's interesting is I think it's really helped our practice because we've reintroduced this concept called mailbox money. Technically, folks, mailbox money by definition is guaranteed income you can never outlive. You got three types: pensions, which are pretty much gone; Social Security, which is uncertain, as this article talks about here. It's 2033. It's expected, according to the trust fund, to run out of money. So they got to do something about that. And then you have these private annuities, which we've offered for years. that pretty much, you know what I've started saying, Trey? Really, you need about $100,000 or more for a private annuity for mailbox money. Haven't you seen that? I mean, if you put 20 or 30,000 in, it's just not going to generate enough income.
Yeah, a lot of the times just having flexibility elsewhere, that 100,000 mark really kind of makes sense for these mailbox money type annuities.
Yeah, I agree. And I think over time, if I had one thing to go over and do, it's not a bad thing, but I probably would have put less money into mailbox money type annuities, because it just doesn't generate enough money. It's there. It's guaranteed income for life. So, yeah, folks, I would say if you've got at least $100,000 or more to invest in a 401k, could even be a inheritance or sale of property. If you're looking for something to provide guaranteed income for life, like a pension, you're going to have mailbox money, and we can get you that. Real quickly, before we bring Craig in a minute, I want to talk to you about this book.
Yeah.
The Great 401k Hoax by William Woolman. This was a game changer for me. Now, first of all, I don't think I would go so far as to say this was a hoax, but I would say that he's right on in a lot of areas. What he's saying is the idea of convincing Joe Lunchbox to get rid of their pension, basically, is what's happened, and to decide to go to a risky 401k plan was kind of a hoax in terms of now Joe Lunchbox is stuck with risk and uncertainty. And some of them are clamoring for this mailbox money.
Yeah, that was really the first time most of America was ever really introduced to stocks and bonds and all that. And it was now their life savings was going to be generated by Wall Street.
And with that in mind, and I've had Derek condense this down, recently BlackRock, folks, is a huge investment company. I mean, they're huge. I don't know, trillions of dollars or whatever. Yeah, I mean, they're huge. But I love this. This is laughable because for years, folks, and we're talking about annuities now, providing mailbox money, guaranteed income for life like Granddad had, they have just bashed annuities. I mean, run them over the coals, run from them. There was one guy made famous the statement, "I hate annuities and you should too." Look at this. BlackRock now, I love the name of this. This is catchy, has launched, I'm reading some bullet points, a new retirement product called Life Path Paycheck. Listen to the key words here, folks, and you'll know annuities are involved. You got to pick out the key words. Designed to provide retirees with a steady stream income similar to a paycheck.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar. Let's kind of keep reading. Recently, BlackRock surveys revealed. Now, to me, a multi-billion-dollar company should have found this out years ago. We learned this years ago. Listen to what they recently discovered, that 60% of employees fear outliving retirement income. How long have we been preaching this whole thing? This is just comical. So basically what they're admitting now is, hey, all these people that have all this risk in the stock market, which we offer those products, folks, I'm speaking for BlackRock, could actually run out of money. So we got to stop that because billions of dollars have been going over to annuities. This is a fact, LIMRA. The record of annuity sales is through the roof. Never before have somebody, and I think it's BlackRock and everybody else is realizing, hey, if you can't beat them, you better join them. So what they've done, they're transitioning, when you never hear the term defined benefit, they're transitioning from defined benefit plans to now providing annuity options in retirement plans. Isn't that ironic?
Really just sounds like the split IRA concept.
Yeah, folks, by the way, if you're looking for the best of both worlds, we've been doing this for years. We can offer investments through Charles Schwab, plenty of flexibility, plenty of liquidity, and yeah, if you want to take some risk, we can do that. The portfolio did very well in 2023. It's not guaranteed, but we can do that. And then if you want some of that beloved, we can certainly do that because we have so much expertise in the field of annuities. So yeah, if you're hearing articles like this and going, yeah, I want to have flexibility, but I also don't want to run out of money, folks, you can run to BlackRock or some of these people all you want to, but we've been doing this for years. Plus, as we've talked about, the personal service that we offer, being able to meet with the owner of the company, salaried fiduciaries, some of the people you're getting ready to meet in a minute. I just think our service is second to none, Trey.
That's what sets us apart. I think even go a step further into getting these products that we've been able to provide forever now lumped into that 401k. It's still stuck behind that veil of the 800 number. So how are you going to get somebody to explain that to you when you're waiting for a half hour to even talk to somebody?
That's a good point. Yeah, even if you might stick some annuities in there and figure out how to get that angle going, it's still a savings plan.
Yep.
There is really no plan. So again, folks, we have what we call a written game plan. This written game plan is absolutely free to those who qualify for it. The way you qualify for it is you first have to talk to me by phone. We call this the free fiduciary phone call. Once we have that phone call and we can determine we think we can help you with your retirement savings, then all you got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. We're going to click on that Let's Get Started. We're going to set up that appointment, and you will be meeting with me personally at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices, and we'll get that free written game plan to you. Okay, Trey, got to run. We're going to bring back in one of our employees, Mr. Craig Davis. And it's interesting, I'm kind of anxious to have Craig on here because Craig, not only did he serve as a missionary for years, he's got experience in the mortgage business, he's a very intelligent young man, but he also has a little bit of background in radio, of all things.
Yeah, I didn't notice him griping as much as most staff when you have to drag him on the show.
Yeah, that's right. Usually staff's like, okay, I'll be on. Craig is like, hey, Craig, you want to be on? Yeah, sure, we're going to be. So he's waiting in the wings. So, Trey, thanks for your time. And, folks, we're going to be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Beth Wisman, and I'm the onboarding specialist here in the Louisville office. One of my main duties at Tony Walker Financial is after a prospective client meets with Tony and decides to move forward with his recommendations. I am the person that steps in to assist in gathering all information needed to move the client's money from their current 401k or other investments over to Tony Walker Financial. After assisting Tony in this onboarding process and in working with all the other great staff here at Tony Walker Financial who are involved in the onboarding process, I can assure you that you'll be pleased with our professionalism and the expertise we bring to the table in making sure that the process is seamless for you. Rest assured, when you decide to move your money to us, I'll personally be there every step of the way to be sure your information is accurate and things are set up the way you want them to be for you and your family. I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker, and in the Worry-Free Production Studios is Mr. Craig Davis, our 401k rollover specialist. Craig, first of all, thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me in.
And so before we get into the meat of the information we're going to share about the rollover process that we provide our clients here at Tony Walker Financial, you have an interesting background. Tell me a little bit about your background.
Our family served as missionaries in Southeast Asia for 13 years. We, from the time where our kids were, I think they were 10, 7, and 4, until they were ready to get out of high school. We came back just before COVID, and then I've made a transition into the mortgage industry. I was living in Glasgow, Kentucky, needed a job in Glasgow. Had a friend who said, "I think you can do this," and so had a 3 years or so in the mortgage industry, and enjoyed helping families that way.
And it's interesting, Trey and I were laughing before you came in, just kidding along about how it's difficult sometimes for me to get staff on the air with me. And you've got a background in radio. So when I mentioned, hey, Craig, you want to be on? You're like, hey, absolutely. When can we do it? So
Love it.
Tell us a little bit about your background in the radio business.
You know, I went to a broadcast school in Louisville right out of high school. And so I did that. First job was in Louisville at a easy listening radio station. Then I got my first real full-time job in Glasgow. And so I started there, was various from overnights to finally the morning show guy in Glasgow. Did about 10 years or so in radio and really liked it.
Now, that easy listening, did you have to talk like this real soft? Or
I tried to. I was probably 18 at the time, so I don't know. I don't know how.
Voice was squeaking, probably still at that age.
Yeah, I was not quite as smooth as some of those DJs for sure.
I am McLovin.
And we've hired so many people as our growth at Tony Walker Financial continues to go. I can't remember, how did we learn about you?
You had somebody on staff that knew me, and you reached out.
Okay, maybe that was it. And man, lucky me, but
Yeah.
You're just doing a great job. So, and I know, like all new staff, we kind of had you do different things. We kind of said you're going to be working specifically in the Charles Schwab program, which, by the way, folks, a lot of our competitors think all we do is annuities. We've got over, 2,400 accounts now with Schwab, I think. Yeah. And that's totaling over $260 million. So, folks, we're more than just annuities, believe me. But now, all of a sudden, you guys are just doing a great job. We talked about Beth, how she does the onboarding. So I want you to walk through our viewers and our listeners what happens when the onboarding is completed. In other words, we've got all the vital information.
Yep.
People are committed to our process, and now we've got to contact that huge 401k custodian that really these clients have never really had to contact other than making some slight changes. And they're going to make one of the biggest decisions of their life to move that 401k over to Tony Walker Financial. Explain your role in that process.
Yeah, so once Beth has them on board, all the information's in the system. We have that ready. I'll reach out generally and make an appointment. One interesting thing, I actually had this twice yesterday. People said, okay, what time do I need to be there? And I said, no, it's just going to be a conference call. I'll call you.
They're thinking they had to come to the office.
They said, okay, well, they were prepared to come do it in the office. And we do have people sometimes say, I would just prefer to do it in the office, which is fine too. We'll grab a speakerphone and call in, but typically it's a conference call. I usually tell people 10 to 15 minutes, depending. Some places can be a little bit more difficult than others, but we sort of walk them through some of the expectations. You're going to have security questions. They want to know if it's okay to discuss your details with somebody else on the line, some documentation that they have to have seen, and then we just move through the process. Generally, it is especially with most of the bigger custodians, it's pretty easy to handle once you navigate the phone tree system. That's sort of the challenge sometimes. And
I mean, just getting to the right person to help you with the rollover.
Yes, there's one system in particular. I was telling a guy yesterday that it's very sensitive, and so I'm going to be muted. You won't be muted. So every time that something happens, they'll say, "I'm sorry, I didn't understand that." And we joke about AI overtaking the world when it can't even get us to the right department most of the time. So I'm not too worried about it just yet. Yeah.
So yeah, there's nothing like that personal touch. And I think what I've noticed about you, in fact, I was up in the Lexington office. This was a couple of weeks ago, and I thought this was hilarious. The gentleman said, you know what, I'm ready to move forward. And of course, I was up there with Wes, and I said, you know what, sir, do you have a few minutes for us to call Craig? And we called you. And in this case, the custodian we were getting ready to deal with that had the 401k did not require us to have an account set up first. Some of them do.
Yes.
And so you knew that, and you said, well, we can make the call now. So I was just sitting there listening in. I hadn't heard you do a full call yet. So the gentleman's sitting there. He's on speaker. We got you on conference call, and we call this big company. And the gentleman was very nice on the other end, and you're doing all this. And I never forget, this was the greatest compliment you could have ever been paid. The guy on the other end, that they're getting ready to lose about $600,000, okay, right? You'd think there'd be some animosity. He kind of laughed, and he said to you, I was just listening, he goes, this obviously in your first rodeo, you're pretty good at this, aren't you? And you just kind of laughed. But I thought, man, what a compliment that the competition is complimenting you on your professionalism. And so you're just doing a great job there. So in closing here, Craig, if somebody were thinking about a rollover to a 401k, and maybe that we don't have time to do that, I want you to share a story. I think, and you do have a lot of great patience, and just how long this call took.
Oh, yeah.
The gentleman that I think he was leaving from Lexington, but you got to tell that story.
He was, yeah. He was in Lexington, somewhere out around the airport, when I called him to get the call scheduled just to see what his calendar is like. He said, I can do it now. I'm just driving. And so I said, okay. He was at the gas station out by the airport in Lexington.
I know exactly where that is.
We got on the phone, and he had something particular that he wanted to try to do with the account. It didn't seem complicated to me. It didn't seem complicated to him, but it turned out to be kind of complicated, apparently. So we stayed on the phone. Actually, when we finished the call, he was having dinner at a restaurant in Bardstown when we finally...
Oh, my gosh.
So the entire time...
So that's like an hour, roughly.
At least, yeah. And so he and I just talking about everything over the whole music, right? So the music's going the whole time. And so you can just imagine we're having our conversation over that music the whole time. And just the thing that I like about the rollover calls, really, I get to meet the clients. We have that interaction. I get to hear some of their story, hear about their family. Actually, the guy yesterday, he finished his... He retired a few weeks ago, and the first thing they did, the whole family went on a trip together. Wow. And I said, Tony, would love to hear that you're taking the money that you've saved up and you're doing something, creating a memory, doing this all together as a family. It's really encouraging for me.
Well, and that's why I wrote the book, Live Well, Die Broke. The biggest thing I'm seeing out there, Craig, is I just really believe this and working with thousands of people. And you know how many people we have that are retired. I mean, it's the majority of our folks. We've got over 3,000 clients. Many of them wait way too long to spend the money. So to hear stories like that where people retire, they're excited, and the first thing they do is spend and enjoy their money, I mean, that's what it's all about. So thanks for all you do. Folks, when I come back, I got to share something. This is an interesting thing. You may not know this, Craig. Did you realize that the more money you stockpile in your 401k and let it continue to grow, sometimes the worse it gets? You'll see this in just a second. Be right back, folks. Have you ever wondered what truly makes retirement worry-free? Well, as someone who has worked for years in the field of retirement planning, I can tell you this. Being worry-free in retirement is not just how much money you've saved for retirement, it's how you are planning on using and enjoying this money without the fear of one day running out. And that's the beauty of what we call mailbox money. It's a steady stream of income, reliable lifetime income, just like the pension my granddad once enjoyed. Hi, my name is Tony Walker, and if you're looking to turn your 401k or other retirement assets into a guaranteed stream of monthly income you can never outlive, let's talk. To set up a quick phone call with me is easy, and best of all, it's free. We call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. To get started, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or call us at 877-499-9255. You know, one of the greatest mysteries in life is this. The more and more money we stockpile for the future, whether it's a 401k or any type of retirement savings plan, actually, the worse things can get. Now, this might sound confusing, but it is a reality, folks. In fact, this phenomenon of creating more and more wealth but creating more and more problems is actually referred to as the law of diminishing returns. So let's take a look at this, and imagine you have a very large 401k plan. And remember, a 401k plan is really more of a savings plan. So this savings plan, as we've discussed, is not really a plan at all. Here's what I mean by the law of diminishing returns. Let's say you're age 60, okay, and let's say you have $500,000 in your 401k plan. And you decide you don't need the money and you still contribute to the 401k. It's doing great. It's earning 6, 7, 8, 9%, whatever. And one day you get out here to age 70 and now it's worth $1 million. Okay, but maybe you don't need as much money. I met somebody the other day that's got this much money. They're 68 years of age. Between Social Security and a pension, she told me she's single. She said, Tony, my house is paid for. I don't need this money. But here's what this young lady doesn't understand about the law of diminishing returns. And here's what the financial world doesn't want you to know, folks. The financial world is making bukus of money on your money. In fact, even in our Charles Schwab platform, where we charge 0.8%, if you don't spend this money, we're going to continue to make money on your money, whether you do better or not. That's just the way the system is rigged. So why do we always want people to spend their money? What is this different take on life? To spend and enjoy your money before it's too late? It's the law of diminishing returns, because I know from doing this so many years, from working with so many savers and watching their lives play out and becoming disabled or passing away at a young age or just not being able to enjoy the money because they get into old age, the law of diminishing returns is going to strike that money dead. And how's it going to happen? It's going to happen through taxes. Again, the more money you have in there, the bigger the tax tumor. It's going to happen with fees. Again, the more money you want to leave with Wall Street and all these money managers or even insurance companies and annuities, and don't draw this out, the more money they're going to make on your money. Also, you know what else eats away at this? I call it the stealth tax, inflation. That's right, folks, because if you spend $1 now, $1 spent now is probably going to be worth way more money than if you save it. I mean, think about what a dollar bill will buy today versus what it might buy in 20 or 30 years. So you might be sitting there thinking, Tony, I've never thought about this 401k savings plan and just leaving it there, not doing anything with it. Well, if that's you, don't let the law of diminishing returns eat your lunch. Why don't you do this? Why don't you right now log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that little red button, and let's schedule a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. It's easy to do, and again, it's absolutely free. You'll be talking to me, Tony Walker, the owner of the company. And then after we talk, if it warrants, we'll be meeting at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. So log on, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or give us a call at 877-499-9255. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program, and we look forward to seeing you next week on the Worry-Free Retirement. But between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free and make it a good one.